Hey, welcome to the Ozzstar Cars channel. Today we're going to talk about jacking up your C7 Corvette. Now this is going to be version 2.0. I do have a video out there that's been very popular on how to safely jack up your car. If you have a 2014 to a 2019, they're all pretty much the same. Now there's four main jacking points on the side of the car, two on the passenger, two on the driver's side, and I show you how to use these pucks. This happens to be from Reverse Logic. I like their quality. And this slips right up into the frame rail, and then your jack pad goes up to that. So I will definitely leave a link to that video in the description here so that you can check that out first. That's probably the primary. Now, what I want to talk to you about today is the confusion out there. Once you get the car jacked up, you want to put safety stands, or jack stands, some people call it, underneath the car. So you can put two up front and two in the rear. When you use jack stands, you should use four points, okay? So it's like this, and technically it's not safe for the car to just be up at one end or one, the front or the rear, because it can slip. So that's something to keep in mind. Of course, jacking up your car, you've got to be careful. You don't want to cause any death, damage, or injury to the car or yourself. So keep that in mind, that you follow all your service manual or owner manual information. But anyway, what I want to do is, it's a little bit tricky. It's not tricky to put your jack stands in under the car. It's where to put them, and there seems to be a lot of confusion. So I printed out a couple of drawings or pictures from the actual owner's manual of the C7. And over the years, this has been updated. So I think like 2016 or 17, they updated it again. The 14 may not have this information in the 15 and 16. But I'll take you to the bench. I've got everything drawn out. I want to kind of go over it with you there on paper, which may make you even more confused than before. So what we'll do is we'll jack this bad boy up here behind me. This happens to be an 18 Grand Sport. We'll jack it up, and I want to physically bring my camera, drag it under there with you guys, and point to where we should be putting those jack stands. So let's get over the bench and check out the diagrams. So we've got a lot to look at, and here is our owner's manual. And basically what I did was, like this picture, this drawing here of the rear, this is of the front. I printed these out and color coded them so that they might be a little bit easier to figure out. And then here's our main chassis. Let me zoom a little closer so you can see that. Okay, so that way you got a clear copy. But basically what I printed out was from here. And here is the layout of the car. This is the front, pointing that way, obviously. And what I want to show you is the jacking points that I just talked about. Those 4 points, two on each side, are right here and here. And if you check the other video out, you will see those. But once you do that, the car's up in the air on one side. Basically, you can go ahead and get jack stands in up front and a jack stand in the back on this side. If you went to the other side, obviously you would do it that way. Or there's another location that GM, well, not recommends, but says you can jack up. And that's this point here, which is not actually shown in their diagram. So it's right here, and I'm going to show you that over here in a second. And then up front, we've got this one here. So you see how it's got kind of a U shape? So let's go to the front, and actually I should flip this diagram backwards so it would be like we're looking at it like this actually. So this would be this part. I highlighted it in green or yellow, and that big arrow is pointing to that. Now in pink is the mono spring, so when you get under there you have an idea of what you're looking at. And then there's another cross member right here between the chassis, so behind it. And you can place jack stands here. You can jack in the center of this, I guess you call it, like, I'm going to call it the horseshoe. It's not really a horseshoe, but it's bent, this curve or cove. You can place a jack in the center. Now the car sits extremely low, so in order to get a jack under there all the way up there, good luck. I mean, there are long reach ones, but that's why I'm showing you this, these other points here to give you some idea. You can also obviously place jack stands. Now you would want to put them on the outside, right? So you would put one out here, and that's on the front. So we go to the rear of the car, and I drew this in blue. This is another jacking point. If somehow you could get your jack all the way under, you know, through this way or this way, it'd be pretty tricky, but you can actually, and I highlighted this one in green right here. So here's our transmission. Of course, these have transmissions in the rear. Whether it's an automatic or a manual, it's back there. And you can use this point in the center, right where their arrow is, to jack. So you can put your jack pad there. Now, keep in mind, whether you do this on the back or the front, GM suggests that you have a block of wood over top of the jack pad. So a piece of wood in the center to lift this up, okay? So that you're not putting direct metal, steel to aluminum. These are aluminum pressure, and that will reduce cracking. You don't want to crack anything, that's for sure. So you have your mono spring right here, and then, and by the way, if you don't know what a mono spring is, it's basically, you know, you've heard of coil springs or leaf springs. Corvette for many years since the C4 generation has been using mono springs. So they go left to right. Anyhow, this is another cross member right back here, and then your muffler, your tailpipes would be pointing out this way. So this is the front of the car, that's the back of the car, we're looking at it that way. So I want to take you under there and we will look at that. So I kind of marked it out here in navy blue where you could place jack stands once you got the car up. Back here, you could even put it on the outside here or out here. Now if you look closely, you do not, this is your, and maybe I can show you that under the car. This here is your lower control arm on the side here. You got one here, and then you have this one here, that horseshoe thing where they connect here with the bushings. You do not want to put jack stands on your control arms, okay? Regardless of the poor information that's out there, that is not a good idea, okay? So I don't suggest that you do that. Keep your jack stands on the subframe here, the main cross members, and of course, you know, the chassis area, which this is the main chassis that runs along here. So anyway, I hope that kind of straightens it out. On the front, like I say, we'll get under there and I'll show you the other optional locations for jack stands. So there are several areas, and you just need to be cautious of where you're putting the car down or laying the car on the jack stands, and that you're on level ground. You know, set your parking brake, use you know, tire chocks or wheel chocks if you have to when you first get it up. Now these cars are pretty stiff, so why don't I jack up the other side? And usually if you're jacking from this point up here and the other point is over there, usually, the whole car is going to come up, okay? So keep that in mind. They're that stiff, the chassis is that stiff that it won't really flex much. So I've already have my jack pad on the hooked up to the chassis back there, and here's our floor jack. I'm using a 2.5 ton. It's a low profile. Be careful if you have these side skirts. I talk all about that in the other video, so make sure that this isn't going to hit. And as you jack, you definitely want to see your floor jack roll forward. So that means that its lifting point is working. If these wheels don't start rolling forward, then you've got a problem and you need to stop, because it can cause a lot of damage if this thing slips off of here. And trust me, it's happened to some guys, unfortunately, and it's not pretty, and it'll cost you about $6,000 to get it fixed. So let me raise this up and then I'll take you under there. So we've got the car up. I'd say this front right tire is about 10 inches off the cement floor. And here's the jack setup. If you haven't seen that other video, right here there's a puck on the frame sitting right onto this jack pad right here. So that's my setup for that. Let me take you underneath and show you the points that we were talking about. And I already have 2 jack stands under here because I don't want to come under here and point at stuff for you guys and not be safe. Because you never know when those hydraulics are going to let go. So you never mess around and get under a car without proper support like this. So anyhow, the first cross member is this piece right across here. Let me extend this out.
and it goes from over here to that side to the lower control arm to this point right here. And what you want to do is you want to be cautious of where your jack stands go. On the front here, I would say 12 inches apart. This curves up. Now, I don't know if it shows on camera, but this is flat here, and then this kind of bends up. Don't put it there. It could possibly slip, okay? So that's your safest or best point. Now, you'll have to look beyond it. Let me see if I can slide this around here a little bit better. There you go. So this is that U-shaped piece we were talking about, cross member right here. So you see the two holes, there's one here, and then there's one back over here, okay? Let me turn this a little more. And what GM suggests is with that floor jack and a block of wood that you can put it on the center right here on this part and jack the car up and then put your safety stands in. So you can also put jack stands out here and out here, okay? So instead of having them up front, it would be, you know, instead of them being up there. But sometimes you got to work on this stuff and it, you know, it might be in your way. So that gives you a little more clearance to give you an idea of where we're at. There's two, this has a dry sump, this Grand Sport, there are two oil pan drain bolts. So one is back here, and then this one right here with the blue, you're seeing right here on the front. That's to give you an idea of where we are. So this piece is right in front of that oil pan or drain pan, whatever you want to call it. And that's that. So this is the front. Like I say, I don't suggest you ever jack anything up on your control arm, which is this piece right here, along here, like this. Don't do that. That's not a good idea. If you don't have to, don't do it. Do it the right way. So now, let's go to the back of the car, and I'll show you the points over there. So we're at the back of the car, and just show you where we're at. We're still on the, we're looking at it from the passenger side. This right here, this is your transmission pan. This is an automatic transmission. So that's that. Now here's the first cross member right here that has that kind of U-shaped thing that we talked about. And then this black piece left to right is your mono spring. And then this piece back here left to right is another part of the cross member. So GM says that you can jack the car from a lifting point if you can get to this part here, this U-shaped deal. So put the block of wood on top of your jack pad, and from the center you can lift here. Now you could possibly put jack stands over here on each side, but this is kind of tight, and with the jack here I don't see how you could really do it. It would be in the way. So back here you could put a jack stand. Now this goes all the way out here to your control arms. You could put a jack stand here and then put one back over here towards that side, towards the driver's side, and then let your jack down. And I guess you could do it that way. That would be the safest and best bet. But they do not suggest you jacking your car from this point, which obviously looks like it would be easiest because it's towards the back of the car, but that's a no-no. So I hope that gives you an idea of what's going on here. Now keep in mind, once again, here's your lower control arms. It's not a good idea to put jack stands here or over in here on either side. That's a no-go. Anyway, that's what you need to know, and hopefully that helps you out. So the car is, you know, jacked up at the front point there, and I wanted to show you, maybe you don't have time to see the other video, but here's one of the jacking pucks. And like I said, the chassis is so stiff that, you know, the front and the back is going to come off the ground. This is probably 7 inches off the floor there. Sorry about the light in the way. Anyway, what you do is on the back, you'll take your, see how that's oblong? You'll put that right into this slot. And the C6 has this also. And then what you do is just twist it. And now you have a place for your jack. Show it to you this way. So you have a place now for your jack to come up, the jack pad, and actually lift up at that point. And the reason that you want to have one of these is because this can actually slip. And I know on the C6, the chassis is like on an angle, and that jack is really susceptible to sliding off. So, and then when you're done, you just pop this right out, and you're good to go. Some people leave them in. Some guys have the kind of twist and just stay in forever, but I prefer this kind right here. All right, so I hope that clarifies that.
Okay, hope you enjoyed the video. Now we know where to put our safety stands under our C7 Corvette. So I hope the video helped you out and you can get under there and work safely. So thanks for stopping by. You can check me out on my social media action. It's Facebook is Ozzstar. What else I got? Instagram, Ozzstar with the number 1. Right here on YouTube, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Check out some of my other repair videos. Got plenty of Corvette stuff out there. And other than that, I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy. All right, I want to show you guys something that's kind of crazy. So, that's how these cars handle amazingly because the chassis is so stiff, and you won't see this on many cars. But we have the right front is still jacked up, right? And you can see that clearly. Of course, the jack stand's gone, or the floor jack is out now. And the reason I have this up is I'm going to be replacing the front splitter to a stage 2 aerodynamics. And I need the car up in the air to get under there to do that. But here's our one jack stand in the place we talked about putting it, right? Nothing over there. But come over here to the left front and look at this. That sucker's off the ground. That's pretty cool. So right there.